Decades after two preschool sweethearts lost touch, something unbelievable happened. Matt Grodsky and Laura Scheel first met when they were just a couple of 3-year-olds. Surprisingly, they felt drawn to one another from the very first moment they laid eyes on each other. No one could believe the beautiful bond these two created, and soon they became an inseparable duo. Everyone loved the little preschool sweethearts. While parents and teachers remained aware of Grodsky and Scheel, no one paid too much attention to their unique bond. Soon enough, Grodsky even professed his love in front of an entire classroom. Unfortunately, along the way, the preschool sweethearts went their separate ways and left behind those incredible memories. That is, until their paths crossed again a few years later. However, no one imagined the unbelievable would occur. About 25 years ago, Matt Grodsky and Laura Scheel's paths crossed for the first time in Phoenix, Arizona. They met at the same age, 3 years old, while attending the same preschool. Soon after meeting one another, they immediately became best friends. Like most toddlers, Grodsky and Scheel were a little too young to truly understand deep friendship. However, the two began playing with each other constantly, becoming one another's partner in crime in no time. Little did Grodsky and Scheel know that their friendship would be put to the test over and over again. Would their friendship survive what was about to come? While Grodsky doesn't remember the exact moment he saw Scheel for the first time, he does recall the way she made him feel. Grodsky felt immediately drawn to her. "I don't remember the first time I saw her, but she was always a girl who let me follow her around," Grodsky recalled. They became so close that even teachers and their parents started to notice it, though they didn't give too much thought to it, other than thinking it was an adorable, innocent friendship. Nevertheless, that didn't stop Grodsky and Scheel from forcing a tight bond. When everyone least expected it, their beautiful friendship would lead to unbelievable results. When they first became friends, Grodsky was a total goober, and he would follow Scheel around the playground all day long. In the meantime, Scheel believed Grodsky was a goof, though over time she began to enjoy his company, especially because Grodsky could always make her laugh. Every day he became more and more determined to show Scheel just how funny he could be, and he did. Over time, Scheel got to know his charming and hilarious personality. She also realized how caring and amusing Grodsky was. Soon enough, Scheel and Grodsky became hooked on each other. From there, they were like two peas in a pod, and the rest was history. Soon enough, Grodsky and Scheel couldn't keep away from each other. Furthermore, they didn't want to. They did everything together, from chasing one another around playing hide and seek, to staying up during nap time so they could giggle and sneak around. For them, their friendship was one of the most important things in the world. Still, it seemed pretty innocent as the two best friends were such small children. Soon, the pair realized that the time they were spending together at recess wasn't enough, so when preschool began arranging bi-monthly field trips, Scheel knew exactly who to pick as her buddy. Within months, Grodsky and Scheel became inseparable. Any chance they could, they found ways to spend time with one another. Scheel would always pick Grodsky as her partner on field trips. One of the most common field trip locations became the public library, which the duo always looked forward to. The two loved reading, playing, and just spending time with each other. In return for choosing him as her partner, Grodsky always made sure to make Scheel laugh. In reality, it didn't really matter where they were. Grodsky would always make sure they had an amazing time. While it may have started as field trip buddies, Grodsky and Scheel soon started holding hands wherever they went. Meanwhile, teachers and parents began suspecting that the two might be quite the pair of preschool sweethearts. Very often, Grodsky tried a variety of methods to impress Scheel. His first tactic was always to try and make Scheel laugh. While she didn't find most of the boys, or many of the girls either, that funny, Grodsky would do anything he could to make Scheel giggle with delight. By far, his best flirting technique was to produce lines from Disney movies off the cuff. His favorite was The Lion King, and he would get Scheel's undivided attention every time. "I'd always try to impress her by reciting lines from the movies like The Lion King and stuff like that," Grodsky recalled to Today. Grodsky didn't just impress Scheel with humor, but also with sweetness. During a Cinco de Mayo celebration, Grodsky broke the piñata to impress Scheel. Not only that, he gave her all the candy since he knew she loved sweets. In return, Scheel taught Grodsky all she could. For instance, Scheel taught him how to use the swings and how to draw rolling hills. Scheel also taught him, according to her, the proper way to eat string cheese. As a result of everything they did for one another, the teachers thought Grodsky and Scheel had the most beautiful bond. As you might imagine, Matt Grodsky and Laura Scheel soon wanted to spend time together outside of preschool. By this point in their friendship, the pair's parents had met and talked a few times, becoming casual acquaintances. So during the weekends, the parents started planning play dates and movie theater visits. During movies, whenever they watched a scary scene, Grodzki would grab Shiel's hand to let her know he was there to protect her. Every weekend became fun for the pair of preschoolers. At this point, it became clear to everyone that Grodzki and Shiel were inseparable. Unsurprisingly, no one believed the preschoolers could maintain such a close bond for much longer. However, Matt had a very different opinion. Even though they were just a couple of 4-year-olds, everybody could see that Grodzki and Shiel were better friends than some adults. During their time in preschool, the duet became inseparable. Together, they created the sweetest memories. Nevertheless, to teachers and their parents, it was clear that the little preschool sweethearts were more than just friends. Soon, everyone agreed that the two were little lovebirds, as far as that term can apply to 4-year-old kiddos. However, Grodzki was just about to make a major announcement to assure Shiel of just how much he loved her. For him, the best way to profess his love was in front of everyone. And so he did. A 4-year-old Matt was so convinced Shiel was his soulmate that he had no problem with letting his classmates know. When you like someone, you just kind of stand up and say it, Grodzki explained, and that's precisely what he did. One day, Grodzki stood up in front of all his classmates and declared his love for Shiel. Furthermore, Grodzki said he would marry her in the future. "Just you wait," he exclaimed. Meanwhile, his 4-year-old peers burst out laughing at his heartwarming declaration. But who could take him seriously at such a young age? While Grodzki's prediction seemed way off, not even he could foresee what would happen 2 decades later. While no one took Grodzki's words too seriously, it didn't stop him and Shiel from continuing to develop an amazing friendship. For the rest of their preschool days, Grodzki and Shiel remained as close as ever. "We did almost everything together in preschool," Shiel recalled. The little lovebirds never missed each other's birthday parties and set play dates almost every weekend. During their time together, they were the cutest preschool sweethearts their teachers had ever seen. However, Grodzki and Shiel had no idea that fate would work against their beautiful bond. At their incredibly young age, Grodzki and Shiel believed they would remain together forever. Furthermore, the two hated to spend any time away from one another. If anything happened during the time they were apart, the first thing they did was to run toward each other and talk about their new experiences. In retrospect, it was very rare for such young souls to share such an incredible, unique bond. However, as preschool was coming to an end, their relationship would be put to the test. The pair had no idea about their parents' future plans for them. Soon enough, Grodzki and Shiel would face a hurdle that would compromise their beautiful friendship. Time flew incredibly fast, and before they realized it, it was time for the pair to begin a new chapter in their lives. Kindergarten. Grodzki and Shiel's parents couldn't believe the time had come to send their children off to kindergarten. Not too long ago, they were learning how to walk, and now they were old enough to start school. Like many parents, Grodzki and Shiel's parents believed their babies were growing up too fast. Meanwhile, the children could not wait to start kindergarten. It meant they'd see new things and meet new people. Of course, Grodzki and Shiel believed that they would go to kindergarten together, preserve their beautiful friendship in the year to come. Grodzki and Shiel did not think for a second that they might attend separate schools for kindergarten. After all, didn't their parents know that they were close friends? The tiny tots assumed their parents knew what they wanted and worked it out. However, the two were in for quite the surprise. As it turns out, their parents had very different plans for the pair. The preschool sweethearts would be going to different schools, and, as they were just a couple of kids, there was nothing they could do to prevent that from happening. In the end, there was no other choice but to go along with it. When the time came to start kindergarten, Grodzki and Shiel's parents sent them off to different schools. In all likelihood, the parents probably did not know how much the separation would affect their children. Furthermore, the parents needed to make the best decision for their children's futures. It wasn't a deliberate action, but the pair still needed to adjust to their new lives. While it was heartbreaking for both of the kiddos, Grodzki and Shiel truly believed their friendship would remain despite the distance. Of course, they weren't going to be spending so much time together. Still, they had to figure out some way to make it work, despite all the adversities. They thought that their friendship could survive. Despite all their efforts, it wasn't easy for Grodzki and Shiel to remain close. Still, the pair tried to play together on any occasion they could find. Their parents had convinced the two buddies that they'd always have their weekend play dates together, but they could barely find the time. Grodzki and Shiel continued to see each other until around the year 2000. Time waits for no one, and before they knew it, the time that the preschool sweethearts spent together decreased drastically. Soon enough, Grodzki and Shiel found themselves preparing to embark on a totally different chapter. Over the years, it became harder than ever to find time for one another. Another couple of years passed by, and before they realized it, the time to start middle school was here. By that time, Grodzki and Shiel had lost touch completely. Unfortunately, long gone were the days of playdates and hide and seek. Like most kids their age, Grodzki and Shiel were going through the motions of growing up. Furthermore, with everything going on in their lives, the pair didn't really have much time to mull over the changes. Little by little, they had grown accustomed to not being around each other as often. However, the preschool sweethearts still had one last resource to keep up with one another. Over the next 7 years, the only way the preschool sweethearts kept in touch was through their parents' annual exchange of Christmas cards. In the yearly photos, Grodzki and Shiel could keep track of each other's development. Still, the cards did not provide either with deep information, nor did it make up for a friendship. Despite the distance between them, neither Grodzki nor Shiel forgot one another. However, rather than focusing on the past, the preschool sweethearts decided to focus on the present. Even though they missed each other terribly, every day life kept them busy with things like school, homework, family, and new friends. After Grodzki and Shiel started to navigate their way through middle school, the Christmas cards soon moved into the background. As the years unfolded, neither of them eagerly waited to see a picture of the other attached on the card. It was just like the proverbial saying, out of sight, out of mind. Both Grodzki and Shiel moved on with their lives. All that time they spent when they were both 3 years old seemed like a million years ago. Little did they know, destiny slowly began setting up the dominoes for the two to reunite, and it started with the birth of new friendships. Now that they no longer had each other, Grodzki and Shiel began forging new friendships. In their separate lives, the preschool sweethearts started creating new memories with new people. So it isn't that surprising that the pair found themselves thinking less and less about each other. However, despite the fact that they no longer saw each other, they never forgot about one another. Before they knew it, Grodzki and Shiel graduated from middle school and started high school. Just like before, Grodzki and Shiel lost friends to new schools, but neither would believe where one of Grodzki's friends would end up. Middle school finally came to an end, and the preschool sweethearts began getting ready to start their freshman year of high school. Like most teenagers about to enter the high school world, Grodzki and Shiel felt excited to start the final leg of traditional schooling. Unfortunately, the long-lost best friends went to separate schools, even further away than their middle schools. It seemed less and less likely that the two would ever cross paths again. Soon, high school started, and the two made even more new friends. Then, one day, Shiel was going through her new friend's phone when she spotted something incredible. She couldn't wrap her head around what she was looking at. One day, out of nowhere, Shiel was scrolling through her friend's cell phone and stumbled across Matt Grodzki's name in her contact list. Shiel's heart stopped for a moment. She couldn't believe her eyes. Then she asked her new friend how she met Grodzki and why she has his number. As it turned out, Shiel's friend had attended middle school with Grodzki. Then she moved and switched schools, moving to Shiel's. After Shiel made the connection, she told her friend all about their preschool romance. While Shiel decided not to give it too much thought, her friend had a rather outlandish idea, and she was about to see it through. When Shiel's friend heard the story about Grodzki and Shiel's preschool romance, she instantly knew she had to act. Shiel's friend told her that she wanted to set her up with Grodzki again. However, Shiel didn't think it was a great idea. She was wary and hesitant at first. "I was a freshman in high school, so I was like, I don't think so," Shiel recalled. Regardless of Shiel's reservations, her friend went straight ahead and gave Grodzki her phone number so they could reconnect after all those years. She ended up giving him my number and he texted me. Soon they went on a date to meet. While Shiel was nervous to see her preschool sweetheart again, she could not deny her excitement as well. After Grodzki texted Shiel, they agreed to meet at the movie theater, just like the old days. When both arrived at the location, it felt like no time had passed at all. The preschool sweethearts immediately hit it off, making each other laugh and smile. After all those years, the pair's chemistry remained, seemingly stronger than ever. Both felt something more now, however, a true, strong, and mutual attraction to one another. So just 2 weeks after they reconnected, Grodzki and Shiel were officially dating. Although it was challenging being at different schools, the pair remained determined to make it work, no matter what. Nevertheless, they still had more hurdles to overcome along the way. Throughout high school, Grodzki and Shiel went on dates almost every weekend and even attended one another's school dances. Once again, they became an inseparable duo, just like they had been in their preschool days. However, the couple was about to face yet another hurdle. Soon it was time for college, and everything was about to get trickier again. Right after we graduated from high school, we were pretty hesitant, said Sheil. We were like, do we stay together? Do we try to make it work? It was time for the couple to evaluate their situation because, once again, each one had applied to different institutions. Even worse, this time they would be in different states. While Laura Sheil enrolled at the Northern Arizona University, Matt Grodsky moved over 1,600 miles away to Chicago and enrolled at Columbia College. Any people who have been in long-distance relationships can tell you how hard it is, and the preschool sweethearts found it just as hard. However, the couple had already experienced a semi-long-distance relationship during their high school years, so with a test run of sorts under their belt, the two felt confident they could take on the challenge. The couple figured out a schedule to see each other as often as they could. They also used FaceTime and other social media to keep up with one another every day. Nothing would keep these two apart. Grodsky and Sheil remained positive they would stay together and make it through their first year in college. They figured if they could get through 1 year, they could get through them all. The longest stretch they spent apart was 20 weeks, but they still managed to make it work while enjoying the authentic college experience. Often, they visited one another's campuses. At this point, there was no doubt that Grodsky and Sheil were soulmates. From the moment they first met in preschool, they were meant to be together. However, this time Grodsky didn't take anything for granted, nor did he want to wait to see what time had stored for them. Soon, distance started to take its toll on Grodsky. Thankfully, he had an idea. Furthermore, an upcoming milestone would present the perfect opportunity. While the couple had to spend a considerable amount of time apart, Grodsky and Sheil's first year of college went by incredibly quickly. Before they knew it, another 2 passed, and they were about to start their final year of school ever. During this special time, Grodsky decided to do something he should have done long before, something that would change his and Sheil's life forever. Grodsky did not want to have any doubts about him and Sheil's future as they entered into their final year of college. Furthermore, he wanted to start their last year off with a special surprise for his love. However, Grodsky had no idea that what he was about to do would make headlines around the world. Grodsky wanted to surprise his preschool sweetheart with the most extraordinary and sweet gesture. While many ideas came to his mind, Grodsky decided a celebratory picnic was perfect. However, he also had a surprise up his sleeve, something that would make it far more than an ordinary picnic. I convinced Laura that we were going to a picnic at the preschool. We had just finished up our junior year of college, so I framed it as a nice, relaxing date, Grodsky later said in an interview. In retrospect, the special location should have given Sheil a hint that the picnic would be more than advertised. However, Sheil didn't notice anything until Grodsky started acting strangely on the way to the preschool. Grodsky truly believed that the best place to make a symbolic moment and celebrate their beautiful relationship and unique bond was where it all started, the preschool playground. Meanwhile, Sheil had no idea that Grodsky had something else planned, so when he began to act strange, she took notice. During the car ride, Sheil noticed that Grodsky was acting nervous, fidgety, and even started sweating. What about a picnic at a playground could make him so nervous, she wondered. Furthermore, Grodsky seemed a little quieter and more reserved than usual. After all, even all these years later, he always tried to make her laugh. Of course, Sheil had no idea what Grodsky was planning. Matt Grodsky got so nervous on the way to the preschool because he decided to turn the celebratory picnic into a proposal. Furthermore, he had been planning it for a while. 2 months prior to the big day, and after receiving her dad's blessing, Grodsky purchased an engagement ring. Grodsky planned every bit perfectly. First, he had his brother waiting at the preschool so he could capture the proposal on camera. Next, Grodsky decided to use the picnic basket his own father had used while proposing to his mom, filling it with snacks, wedding magazines, and some sparkling cider. Now, with the stage set, all Grodsky needed was to get down on one knee. The moment of truth finally came when the preschool sweethearts arrived at the surprise destination. Sheil felt overwhelmed with emotion. After all those years, they had returned to where it all started. At first, Sheil thought they were there for a picnic, but then all of a sudden, Grodsky got down on one knee and asked the love of his life if she would marry him. Initially, Sheil wasn't entirely sure what was happening. I was like, oh my gosh, is this happening? I saw the ring and was like, this is gorgeous, I'm so happy with it. I had no idea, she said. Unsurprisingly, when Sheil finally understood the situation, the answer was a resounding yes. Over the next year and a half, Matt Grodsky and Laura Sheil planned their dream wedding. And when you think about it, it really was a dream wedding, one in the making for 20 years. After 2 decades, Grodzki had kept the promise that he made in front of their preschool class. He would marry the girl of his dreams. The time flew by for the preschool sweethearts. Not only did they need to plan a wedding, but both graduated from college. Before they knew it, the day had come for them to walk down the aisle and begin the rest of their lives together. The two could not wait to finally fulfill Grodzki's promise. Proving that true love does really exist, preschool sweethearts Matt Grodzki and Laura Scheel tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony at the Arizona Historical Society on December 30th, 2016. Grodzki's uncle officiated the lovely service, describing their incredible journey perfectly. For most kids in preschool, it's about finding your snacks and your sleeping mats. But for them, it was about finding their soulmates. But the fun and love didn't stop there. As their way to merge their nostalgic past and celebratory present, the couple chose Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John from The Lion King as the song for their first dance. The wedding was such a special moment for both Grodzki and Scheel. However, for them it was more about celebrating with their loved ones and commemorating their incredible love story than pictures or presents. Our favorite part of the wedding was the dancing and having everyone we love there to celebrate with us, the newlyweds said. We tore it up on the dance floor, and it was great being surrounded by everyone who played a part in bringing us together, they added. After the wedding celebration, the happy couple headed to their honeymoon in Maui. However, Scheel wanted to share their incredible story with the world and came up with the perfect idea. Without even knowing, more surprises waited for her just around the corner. Soon after they became husband and wife, Scheel wanted to share her and Grodzki's story with the world. So that's when they posted about their heart-rending, preschool sweet story on the Instagram account The Way We Met, which recounts incredible love stories and how the couples met. Grodzki started the post explaining how they met, until he got to the point where they exchanged vows 20 years later. I was enamored with Laura as a child, and I still am to this day, Grodzki wrote. While they assumed people would like their story, the couple could never have imagined the overwhelming response it would receive. The heartwarming post garnered over 30.1 likes and almost 1,000 comments. That came as a bit of surprise for the newlyweds. Moreover, the preschool sweethearts knew that Grodzki had written play-by-play of their childhood experiences and their high school reunion, but they never expected people to love their story so much. To us, it seems normal because we lived it, and others think it's an amazing story that you take for granted sometimes, Grodzki said. Having gone through a long-distance relationship, you learn really quickly how much the other person means to you, and we value our time. Little did they know that the post would go viral, leading a famous star to reach out to them with an incredible offer. After the preschool sweethearts renovated their brand new home, the post went dormant for a few months. Then, one day, Scheel received a message from the Instagram account, letting her know that her story had been spotlighted to an audience of 392,000 followers. Their story became so popular that the famous rapper and actor Tyrese Gibson heard about them and reached out to Grodzki and Scheel. The star admitted that he is a true sucker for love, and gave the lovely couple a 3-day trip to Miami, all expenses paid. Of course, the couple jumped right in and took up the gesture for a vacation. Of course, good people that they are, Grodzki and Scheel publicly thanked Gibson for his kind gesture. Grodzki and Scheel's love story of preschool sweethearts turned adult couple spread across the world like wildfire. It's totally insane. I'm eating a sandwich at work getting messages saying, "Hey, you're in India. Hey, you're in Paris." It spread like wildfire, and we're just so glad to be a part of something positive around the world, Grodzki later said. It's just crazy. On the other hand, Scheel only sees the humor in it all, saying, "It's so funny to scroll through the Instagram and think, that's my face. Our preschool photos are everywhere." The couple also took this opportunity to highlight everything they love about one another. While Grodzki loves Scheel's smile and kind nature, Scheel loves his sense of humor. Matt and Laura Grodzki will celebrate their 3rd wedding anniversary this year. And so far, life has been great. Grodzki worked as a screenwriter, but now works in the world of digital marketing. Meanwhile, Scheel works at a nonprofit organization that helps foster families in need. They also have a 4-legged companion called Kirby and love cooking and exercising together. As for what the future departs, Scheel said, "We would love to have kids at some point. Right now we're focused on our new puppy Kirby and our new house. The preschool sweetheart's story is a fairy tale romance for the ages."